Yo, Eric, we're over here on the paranormal hunt, and I headed over to this other building, and it's number 13. What is this someone on? My God.
All right. It's not Tuesday. It's a Thursday. I'm having a Mandela effect right there. It's a Thursday. got my jacket on, getting ready to do some hunting.
We going fly fishing?
Why not?
Going fly fishing?
I found this hanging. I'm like, perfect. We're talking about Bluff Creek, talking about the Bigfoot. Get the gear on.
The thing we were just talking about, Eric, he was in See No Evil, Hear No Evil. You remember that movie with the blind guy and the deaf guy?
Strange,
yeah.
Richard Pryor and
right. He played the blind guy, the blind rich guy that went after them for the coin. That's who he played.
People are like, what the hell? These guys talk about. Guys, you guys don't want to know what we talk about behind this.
You don't want to know. Good morning, everyone.
All right, guys. The title, legendary film that changed everything. We all know Bigfoot's been in history books, been in history for thousands of years. We don't even know how far back the Bigfoot goes. But, honest to be told, the one video shot that really changed everything of can you capture a Bigfoot on camera? You know? Now, some people say it's fake. There are some people that say it's not real, a guy in a suit, but some people say it is real. Some people say it is. Actually, it's been studied. It's probably the field that's been studied the most. But what's most interesting to me is almost every person I talk to that is directly dedicated themselves mostly into the Bigfoot community, more than the paranormal, UFO, that's their deal. Almost every single buddy that I've talked to, when I used to ask them, I used to have a top 10, not favorite, but top 10 Bigfoot sightings of the world. And every time I go through the list, I ask the people, do you think this one's real or not? Almost every single buddy says Bigfoot of Bluff Creek is real. Almost every one of them. Every single one, almost everybody, hands down, all agree that they feel that footage is real. Now, do we actually know? Not 100% because we're not there. But it's one of those things that, my God, everybody, almost hands down, believes in this one so much versus the negative. But Anthony, I mean, you're always going to have your negative people. I mean, that's...
Of course.
That's the nature of the beast.
Just the way it goes. Yeah.
Now, so I got a bunch of videos. Some videos I got, where they interview the main hold on a second. Let me pull up where I know, Bob Gremlin at the Patterson. I got a couple interviews of two different times because sometimes I feel like when you are studying it, and really, since we're not there, we're, Anthony and I mean, we can't go back to Bluff Creek and it's hard to study something after so long. Only thing you could do is listen to maybe how the guy tell the stories at different times, different spots, and you're looking for like changes in the story, or does the guy keep to the same story? I mean, there's only so much investigation you could do on that incident. Only thing you could do is just try to listen, look at the guy's body language, trying to figure out, do you think he's telling the truth? That's about all you could do. And it's never a direct science of, I know there's people that study body language, can tell if somebody's telling a lie or not. That's not really science, but there are people that can spot things like that. But before we go there, I think the first video is just kind of, it's just a video with music. It just kind of show you what does the Bluff Creek area even look like before we get there? Because, how thick is Bluff Creek? Why did people think there's even Bigfoot there? So this one is just music and just showing you the area of Bluff Creek. And I think that's important to realize, what does Bluff Creek even look like beyond just that little footage that you see. So this is what Bluff Creek looks like. You can see these are thick mountains, people. I mean, this is like, you just look at it. If you believe in a Bigfoot, a perfect type of country for that Bigfoot to be in.
Feeling the music.
Yeah, well, I took out the original because usually their music is copyrighted, and when I use iMovie, it's free to use. So the music is free to use. That's why I'm using it. Because music is what gets you copyrighted the most. See Bluff Creek right there, pointing the arrows. That is Bigfoot country right there, people. It is kind of groovy. What would people think if you and I were back camping back there? We're playing that music like all the way down. Like, these two, who the hell are these two guys? He's from New York and he's from Fresno. Oh my God, what a mix! Here's the film site. You got water down there. I mean, it's a perfect housing for the Bigfoot.
I mean, a Sasquatch could hide in there easily. That's some thick forest, man.
And if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily get lost down there. One of the coolest, kind of a cool technology that's, here, let me turn this down. Well, it shows you more, is that like a lot of the newer iPhones from 13 to 14 has it where it can switch from like satellites to towers back and forth. So the places that you're at that you can't get towers, it can actually log into satellites where if you go to places like this, you will kind of get enough signal trying to find your way out, because the GPS is using satellites versus towers. Newer iPhones from 13 and up actually has that ability to switch, which is kind of cool. If if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to places. But there is technology that's helping people to get out of not getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people that if you don't know where you're going, there's no shame of tying a yard string into a tree, carrying it with you, because last thing you want is to get lost in a forest where you don't know and you're not carrying enough stuff. And that's where you get yourself in danger. You start starving, because I'm sorry to say, most people don't know how to be a Rambo and live off the land, or have the gear to live off the land till somebody finds you. Or even if somebody knows that you're out there,
True.
Shoot, Anthony and I, we probably walk out there and our wives are like, oh, they're lost? Oh, well. They got themselves into it. They get themselves out. They wouldn't do that. Or would they?
I don't know. Let's take them and find out.
I know, right? Or this is what the wives would be like. You going out there? You taking the kids with you?
Yeah, right.
So if you get lost, at least I can have a couple of days without you and the kids.
Yeah.
That's their Christmas present. Now, guys, I'm going to play one of the original. This is called Patterson Gimlin Film Clip from the 1970 film. This is like one of the original cuts that they created back then, and they played it. So it looks kind of old. Coloring's odd.
But it's not the enhanced.
Yeah, but when they did
The
films,
original?
you know, the 70s and stuff, they're really cool to look at. Then I actually have a real investigation kind of of the gremlin footage. Here we go.
Of Bigfoot hunting happened to a longtime investigator by the name of Roger Patterson. In October of 1967, he and a friend were in the Bluff Creek area of Northern California to investigate a reported sighting of two creatures. Suddenly his horse shied as a large creature stood erect from behind a log where it had been drinking from the creek. Patterson grabbed a 16mm camera from the saddlebag and jumped from the back of the rearing horse to take the following pictures. Let's hear in Patterson's words exactly what happened that day.
As I walked across the sandbar, I was able to get some fairly good footage of it. It turned a couple of times and looked at us, and as it turned, it seemed to give me the impression that it didn't want anything to do with it. It didn't run, it didn't act scared, but yet it acted leery of us.
Patterson thought that he had proved once and for all that the creatures existed, but he found that even the film was in question. As a result, the footage was submitted to...
Now I got a bigger footage. That was just a clip. There was no more. I wish there was more, but
I never seen
that's
that
all they
one,
gave
Eric.
me. But it's kind of cool watching those old people narrating back like in the 70s and in
Yeah,
80s.
I love that.
There's something cool about like In Search of, when Spock was doing
It's
In Search of.
nostalgic. It's nostalgic to us. That's what it is, man.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Now, guys, if you believe it or not, just say, people, think about it. Say you do believe it. I believe it. You're out there riding on your horse. Now, some people say, well, yeah, it's just luck that he actually had a camera, a film camera. Well, sometimes luck is involved in everything, catching things. I mean, Anthony caught a lot of things. Luckily, he had his camera and phone with him.
A lot of times I
Before we
didn't
go
have
into
my
the other
camera
videos,
myself.
people in the chat, before we go into the other videos, I want to know right now from all you fine people in the chat. I see Brown Dwarf. I see Judy Wheeler, the Daily Dan Dong. That's also Danny. Brown Dwarf. Let's see, Terry Brown, Monster Radio, First Floor Audio, Akasha Chris, Cynthia Price, all of you in the chat. Before we start, give me a 1 if you believe that was the Bigfoot. 2, you think it was fake. Somebody in a costume or whatever, a hoax. So I want to know. 1, it's real. 2, it's fake. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, because I want to get the flavor of what you guys think it is.
You would have needed a lot. I don't even think they could make that costume back then, to be honest with you, that good. If they were going to hoax that.
I see Kasha Chris 1, and then invite S4 1 for a Brown Dwarf roll 420. Okay, 420. 1. I see Danny 1. So I see a bunch of ones. So like I said, this is the footage, and it's kind of weird, right? The most clearest footage that's probably out there, and that's the one thing almost everybody in the community believes that's the real deal. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's really cool.
Well, think about it, brother. You know what kind of money they would have had to spend to make a costume like that, and I don't even think they would have been able to make it come out that good back then. They just didn't have the graphic art people like we have today that can make costumes like that. You know what I mean?
When was Bigfoot of I'm gonna look at the actual year of Bigfoot of Bluff Creek.
I watched the special on that when they were trying to say, you know, kind of like what we're doing, you know, if it was a costume and they had like graphic, I forget what you call them, visual effects people or whatever that make the costumes. And the Hollywood guy was like, we just don't have the technology. We didn't have the technology back then to make a costume of that stature, they were saying.
Yeah, there's different. And I remember when I was a kid, there maybe it was in the 90s, they kind of came out, some guy came out and said it was him in a costume and all that. And he wasn't like the right size for it. It's 1967 in Northern California. So it was 1967. So yeah, I mean, you're right, Anthony. You got to put that into consideration. What year was it? 1967. What kind of stuff did they have back then? What kind of materials did they have? I mean, everything has to be done out of practical effects, but there's a lot of movies that even came out in the 67 and after that did not look like that. And you got to take that into consideration, because if you can make something look almost that real, why a lot of the movies after 1967 still look like crap?
True.
Because otherwise, if, like you said, if that was a real costume somebody made, that's a lot of money to invest in for something that you don't even know if people even care about to take on. You can't guarantee what the media is gonna run with.
Exactly.
And it's not like Bluff Creek in Northern California is like Palm Springs or ocean ocean scenery. Florida, I mean, Bluff Creek. What kind of ring does that have? Let's see here. Monster Radio. Anyone who says the PG film is fake doesn't know they're from the elbow. Just saying. And nobody's here disagreeing or agreeing with you. All here is we're all believers here.
I think
next video.
Genuine.
Next video I'm going to show is called "Film Introducing to the Bigfoot Still Mysterious 50 Years Later." So 50 years later, they revisit the video and all that. So it's kind of a cool short kind of documentary in a way. And let's check it out. Let's see what they got to say here.
A half-century ago, two former rodeo men went into the woods with a 16mm camera and stumbled on Bigfoot.
When she's walking across a sandbar and spreads her arms out and looks at the camera, frame 352, that's become the Bigfoot icon for our culture.
The sighting of Patty, as she would later be known, at Bluff Creek in California is one of the most famous reels in film history. Before the Patterson Gimlin Film, named after its makers, the Sasquatch was a local Northwest legend. After, Bigfoot became an international celebrity. But look at this clip from the 2017 movie War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, it's obvious now with the leaps in film and costume technology that this is just someone in an ape suit.
Yeah, did you just hear that? Well, Anthony was just talking about technology, costumes. Now that'd be walk in the park for somebody to do. Even with CGI.
Costs a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can't just do something like you saw in Planet of the Apes, just like back in those days. That's some amazing stuff. But just like you said, this is 1967 right there. 1967, not 2023.
Right? A guy even passed a lie detector test on.
Here we go again. A guy passed a lie detector test. Now, there are known people that can, but the majority of the people can't.
Ain't that the dude that said that he... Ain't that the guy that said that he hoaxed it, that he wore the costume right there, taking the polygraph?
Let's see. Let's find out.
National TV claiming he wore the suit.
About whether you were the Bigfoot shown in the 1967 Patterson film. Yes.
But the film continues to fascinate people. How confident are you this film's real?
At this point, I'm as confident as I can be, short of having stood on the sandbar with Roger and Bob and witnessed it myself.
That's Jeff Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State. He's known for being one of the few academics to openly study Sasquatch. For Bigfooters around the world, the Patterson Gimlin film is not only real, it's one of the strongest pieces of evidence of the existence of an undiscovered giant walking ape on the planet. Still, 50 years later, the film is yet to be officially debunked. So, how is this not a person wearing an ape suit?
It's all so easy to say, oh, that's obviously a man in a fur suit, until you see it up against a man in a fur suit.
He points to the Planet of the Apes franchise that came out around the same time as the film and won an Oscar for the makeup. He specifically calls up a scene in the sauna in the 1970 sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
See how they look, the costumes?
This is important. 1970, and that Bigfoot was 1967. So this is 3 years later.
They look like big, hairy Pillsbury Doughboys.
Jeff Meldrum compares it to the Patterson Gimlin film, which he shows to his anatomy students. I'm also including some stabilized footage from a Reddit user that helps illustrate Jeff's point.
And say, all right, I want you to point out as many landmarks of surface anatomy and muscle masses that you can identify. And they start at the head, and they can see the trapezius, they can see the deltoid, they can see the lateral and long heads of the triceps. You can see the erector spinae down the back. You can see the shoulder blades moving under the skin. I mean, you just go on and on from top to bottom. You can pick out all these features, none of which ever show up in a cheap off-the-shelf costume.
Costume manufacturer Philip Morris claimed just that in this video. He gave talks about how he sold Patterson the suit worn in the film.
As he's walking, he turns this way.
But the most relevant proof of Bigfoot's existence for some serious researchers isn't easily captured on film. It's what the Sasquatch leaves behind. Cliff Barrickman has one of the largest collections of Sasquatch footprints in the world. You might recognize Cliff as the co-host of Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot. He's seen a lot of fake prints, but says the...
Real quick, this is important. Mike Johnson wrote $1 million was spent on Planet of the Apes in makeup alone. 1/6 of the total cost of the whole movie. $1 million. Now, $1 million in 1970 is gigantic. I mean, that's probably, I don't know, 5 to 10 million now.
30 million today.
Seriously. And now this is 3 years earlier. 3 years earlier. So that kind of a costume wasn't created yet during that time yet to try to duplicate as good. And there's always going to be people like they show in the footage that, or like in this video that going to claim that, well, I sold him the suit, and all that. Yeah, so he built a suit that was almost like $1 million suit just to a couple rodeo people, and they know for sure that it's going to make them money. It just makes you think. There's always going to be people. Shoot, our friend, Anthony and I's friend, Connor Flynn, has I remember he found a footprint.
Be right back.
Connor found a footprint, Bigfoot Anon. He put it in his book or somewhere, and somebody in Canada put it on their thing and claimed Connor of stealing their picture when the picture was created from Connor. So there's people that will always in life take somebody else's claim. Why? I guess because they just want to be the gatekeeper. All information has to flow through them, or they just want a piece of the pie. Sad world.
Patterson Gimlin ones aren't so easily dismissed.
The trailing leg of the creature also shows the flexibility in the mid part of the foot. There are a few frames there where we see Patty take her heel off the ground but yet keep the entire forefoot in touch with the ground.
Along with the footage of Patty was a clear track of footprints.
One of them showed a very distinctive pressure ridge.
Oh, real quick, Anthony, you left. Just letting you know, Purgatory New York said, I got it, and replied.
Thank you very much.
A push-off that comes about as a result of the very flexible midfoot.
This distinct characteristic is a smoking gun for Jeff. He's seen that pressure ridge in foot samples across decades and continents. But both Jeff and Cliff admit that until there's a body, then the film and all the research will be up for debate. If it's a guy in a suit, the Patterson Gimlin film is one of the great hoaxes of all time. If it's not, the film would completely upend everything we understand about apes and evolution. Either way, the Patterson Gimlin film turned a Northwest local legend into a global icon. And it's endured because it reminds us there's some things in the world we can never know for sure.
Hey, I'm John. I made the...
You know, one of the weird things, I don't know if this might be nerdy to think about. I don't understand why people who do not at all want to believe in the Bigfoot at all. You know what I mean? Like, just don't want anything to do with the Bigfoot. It's not like a Bigfoot. Well, it's not like a Bigfoot's an alien, like from another planet. They're going to become here to destroy humans because they've been here. Why can't they accept that there's animals and species that we don't know about yet? There's 2,000 species a year that are being found by people.
It's the same thing with every subject, man. If you don't have definitive evidence of it, if you can't put it in front of the scientific community to study, they want to shun it. And that's been since the beginning of time, right? They want to put a body on a slab. It's the same thing with aliens, UFOs, the paranormal. I mean, you name it. If science can't physically study it and put their hands on it, there's going to be people that don't believe it. And that's just the way it is.
And it just kind of sucks because
that's why we're here.
There are conspiracy
That's
stories.
We're here.
You know, there are conspiracy stories. We don't know if it's true or not. That there actually have been bodies found and it's been taken away by government agencies, forest agencies. You know, they've been taken away. I mean, we can't prove that, but there's have been stories that stuff like that has been found, and there are science that can prove it, but they're not allowed to speak about it. You know.
But Eric, I look at it like this. That's why we're here. You know, that's why you and I and the rest of the community are here to be out there to investigate and try to bring forth the evidence. It's the guys and girls like us that are out there doing it, right? And when we bring it forth to the scientific community, we'll be vindicated, right? So I'm not worried about it.
I know it is, but it just sometimes, it's just sometimes in life you do scratch your head because it's one thing they want to say, well, we don't want to bring out the aliens. We don't want people to get scared and have the economy collapse because they think we're being invaded. Bigfoot's not invading. If they were, they would have done it already.
They brainwash you from youth in school, right? They teach you what they want to teach you. When we were kids, they were teaching us that man evolved from ape. You know what I'm saying? And that was incorrect. So everything they taught us is incorrect. You know, it's up to like I said, the guys and girls like us that investigate out in the field to change that, to bring forth the narrative of the new evidence.
Let's watch an interview from the man himself. This is just a short video. Let's hear what he says.
The sighting over here, back a ways there, Patty was standing across the creek, and Roger and I rode up the other side of that, along the creek. She was standing on the opposite side of the creek from us, and so when we come around that bend, Roger was in front of me, and of course his horse started jumping around, and my horse started jumping.
Hold on a second. Breaking news right here. Brown Dwarf said in school he was smoking weed. Breaking news. You hear it here first. That while Brown Dwarf was in school, he was smoking weed. Probably during the years when it was illegal. He broke the law. They got to go arrest him.
Nah, I got your back, Brown Dwarf. Don't worry about it.
People were stoned and stuff while they're in class. I just had to break the news to people that let everybody know that Brown Dwarf smoked weed in class. My God. Oh no. The multiverse has been cracked open.
Around, and Roger eventually got off his horse, grabbed a camera out of the right hand saddlebag, and then started across the creek running with the camera up, like that. And then the bank went up just a slight bit, and Roger kind of stuck his toe in there and fell down on his elbows. And then he got back up and went over to a partially a tree that was down, not too big around, probably about that size, and the sand had covered it up fairly well, but he stabilized his arms on that, and that's when you see the stabilized part of the film footage. And then she kept right on walking like that. I was still sitting on the other side of the creek, sitting on my horse holding him, and Roger ended up about at this angle here and said, "Bob, would you cover me?" Well, I knew what he meant, so I rode across the creek, and about at that angle, and she was about approximately there, and so I rode across the creek, stepped down off the horse, and that's when that famous turn of the head was about right down in there.
And it's a female Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Above all things, it had breasts.
You know, believe it or not.
Why would somebody make a female Sasquatch
it's weird to say,
costume
people.
back then?
I am bringing it up. There is a belief in the Mandela effect community. Yes, there is a belief about the Bigfoot of Bluff Creek in the Mandela effect community. If you ask people in the Mandela community, what is the Mandela effect about the Bigfoot? A lot of them would tell you that they remember seeing that footage without the breast. That is a fact.
No.
That is a fact. That is a huge thing, believe it or not, in the Mandela effect community. Now, I'm not telling you guys.
I believe that got misconstrued because people always assumed that Sasquatch was a male Sasquatch, right? It was always assumed that it was a male until further analysis came forward later on and showed that it had breasts. And then they brought up the fact, why would somebody spend all that money to make a Sasquatch costume where everybody thinks they're male and add breasts to it, right?
Well,
so I think that's where that all gets misconstrued.
Or you could also say technology. What is that? What do I mean by that? When you look at original footage of analog, everything is not defined. Everything is more bland. If you look at analog, it's not fuzzy, digital, so it's not crystal clear. So when you look at something, it can look a little different. And then when you start resolution, updating it to 720 to 1080 to even 4K now, then you can actually define the body more. So technically, where you did not see the bumps, but now you see the bumps more. It's just like sometimes you watch an old movie and they updated the resolution and you actually sometimes see flaws or you see what the actual release shape is. Technology makes pictures better and you see it as what they really was like.
Let's do this then. You have the enhanced footage and you also have the original footage. Let's take a look for ourselves and see what we see.
We can do that. Actually, let me see here. This next footage actually shows some of the new footage with interview, because what I try to do is try to find interviews with people, the same kind of guy, different times, to see if the story kind of stays the same or change. Let's take a look at this one.
The next decade, national interest in the story mostly faded until October 20th, 1967, when Roger Patterson, an amateur filmmaker, set out to Bluff Creek to do a documentary on a recent footprint discovery.
It's important to know, guys, when they said he's an amateur filmmaker. Amateur. What's the difference between an amateur and a real top-notch filmmaker is money. Amateurs don't have that much money. That's why they're amateurs. They don't, they make these amateur films at a low budget cost to be able to get to catch the eye of Hollywood, to be able to make big production, right?
Absolutely.
So they said that Bigfoot that he caught looks better than Planet of the Apes, which is a big budget that costs over $1 million. That is people. That kind of information is very important to realize. Just so people know. You got to realize that.
But what Patterson found shocked the world. He shot 953 frames of film that many believe is the best evidence of Bigfoot. You will see that film in its...
So right there, that's original footage. And you can see the bumps, but not as good as when they do it now, when they bring up close-ups and everything. When you see it from that angle,
you will see that film in its entirety for one of the first times on television.
That's right,
Patterson passed away in 1972.
The average person back in the day only had a VHS or beta. They don't really have the positive technology and zoom in kind of stuff. So I can see where people thought
Well, if you were looking at it back then, like you're saying, right, I see what you're saying. Yeah. You're not able to zoom in and enhance. Yeah, absolutely. You would never be able to tell that.
So a lot of people would probably say automatically almost
100%
male. But now, because you could pause it and you could zoom in and stuff, now you're saying to yourself, you know what? That's probably a female. That probably never crossed your mind when you're watching that in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, it didn't cross my mind back then. No.
It doesn't. You automatically thought it was probably a male.
I always thought it was a male myself.
Never wavering from his story. But he was not alone on that fateful day.
A massive bicep in the arm was, you know, wide like that. And as it moved, you could see the muscles ripping in the thighs. In the arms, even underneath that hair, you could see the difference in the movement.
Bob Gimlin was with Roger Patterson that day, and
if you guys get a chance in the chat, take this video that I did, watch his one where he's a lot older, listen to how he's saying the story, go to this one and listen to how he tells the story at a younger age. It's still almost
nothing
identical
focus. Yep.
You know, and I know people are like, well, you probably practice it. No, listen, stories change through time, but when you know you saw something, that story is planted in your mind exactly how you saw it. I mean, listen, when you do these kind of investigations, that's all you could do.
Yeah, Monster Radio brings up a great point. It said, allegedly you could see Patty's tribe in the background too. Has anybody ever seen any other Sasquatch while looking at this footage? Because I've heard that a few times from a few people, that allegedly there's other Sasquatch in the background of the forest as Patty's walking through.
What's interesting about that, Anthony, too, I heard that too, but you only hear that from people from the Bigfoot community that we trust. You know, I'm saying we trust. Well, you wonder why the people who put out these films are studying it. They don't mention it. It's one of those things you got to think about. You got to.
But have they ever analyzed the footage from the forest and pulled anything out of there that resembled?
You know what? You would think you would, right? But you're right. They probably didn't even think about it. But you would think, like when you and Anthony did your paranormal investigation, I'm sure when you found a little something, you were looking at every spot of that frame. Okay, you got your handprint. You're probably looking to the left, bottom, right. You know, you would think that
we're still going
saw
over
a Bigfoot, they would be staring too. But
right? Yeah. You just assume, because you really never, it's always assumed that they always travel in a pack, right? So nothing happens to them. Sasquatch. You always assume they're never alone, right?
Yep.
At least that's how I think.
For almost 40 years was able to stay out of the limelight and controversy. But in 2004, he did this interview recounting that day in 1967.
The weather was great in October, so Roger said, let's ride back up in some of them areas. We rode up that way, up that creek bed away from our camp, which was probably a couple of miles. As we came around, there's a big downfall tree with a root system in the dirt, like a crow's nest, logs jammed together. As we came around that, then, of course, the horses just blew up, and this thing was standing right alongside the creek, on the opposite side of the creek that we were on. It was massive. In the commotion of trying to get the camera out of the saddlebags while his horse was jumping around. I was watching the creature, and it was walking away. Well, the time we got the horses kind of settled down, and Roger ran across the creek, and Roger had the camera to his eye, and then he stumbled kind of and fell down on his knees, and then he got back up, and he ran over to a log that was a little ways away and stabilized himself on the log. And at that time, I rode across the creek on my horse and just sat over there. The creature makes a slight turn with its shoulders and kind of looks back. That's when I rode across the creek on the horse. That's when it made that gesture. So I was looking at it from the back. There were some trees or vegetation that was getting between Roger and the creature, and he wanted to get a better and closer. So he relocated, and when he did, he asked me if I would cover him, which meant get the rifle and see, and there was no intent to shoot this thing at all. Then the creature just kept right on walking.
At the time, it was hard for Gimlin to determine just how large the creature was, but he did find footprints.
And people asked me, well, what do you think it weighed?
Yeah, that guys, that's important to know, because they don't really talk about that much at all when they analyze these films, that he found footprints behind it. They cast them.
You're right.
So it's not just that he saw something and then that was it. There was actually footprints, but they don't talk about that much for whatever reason. they don't really mention a lot that there were footprints found behind the Bigfoot. It's weird that they don't bring up that part of the evidence. It's like they don't want you to believe it in a way.
You know, I thought, well, it takes a big man to weigh 350, so I said probably 350 pounds. We weren't here when they got a hold of it.
You think Ron could fit in that outfit?
No.
Ron's like flipping us up behind the scenes. Screw you guys.
I got an impression gauge, and of course they estimate after that it was 700 or so pounds, or you know, it was tremendously heavier than I'd thought.
Patterson and Gimlin tracked the creature for miles, but never saw it again. And that's where the trail ended and the controversy began. Over the next...
Now, people, I apologize. I haven't been staring at the chat very often. If you're saying stuff, I'm missing it. I apologize. I'm paying attention, but I want to say Oracles Beyond showed up. I see Pincer, Angel Wings, Chris Jarvis, Hobbs, my good buddy Hobbs. Brown, of course, Brown Dwarf I already mentioned, Shelly, Morrison. So a lot of Akasha Chris has been there from the beginning of the show. So a lot of good people. Now, this next video, guys, is something different. Sometimes I like to see, what do other podcasters think about the footage? When they get a group together, kind of like what we're doing here, what are they saying? Hello, Lee from First Floor Audio.
What up, Lee?
Judy Wheeler. I forgot Judy Wheeler's there. So what do other podcasters think of the footage? So sometimes I like to see what other flavors are that are not our people that we really talk to that at all. You know, I don't even know these podcasters. But what do other people think about that footage? Well, let's find out.
Yeah. What about the Patterson video, the most famous Bigfoot? Do you think that's
I do,
real?
because there was some kind of anthropologist guy who's like, you know, was a real scientist.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you know, the gait and the bones and the muscles rippling are legit.
They can't recreate it, supposedly.
This is the guy walking? Oh, the one.
You guys hear what he said? They can't recreate it. They tried to recreate that exact same walk, and they can't do it. That's interesting to know.
But this is one I thought they said that was for sure fake.
Well, there's a guy who claims that he got paid to wear the suit. There's someone else who claims that they made this. I thought it had been debunked, but when I read about it, there's still people who think that's real.
I thought it was.
Oh, did Anthony say?
Did you see that when you started that and they showed the video? It looked like the silhouette of a Sasquatch in the woods.
Let's see.
Am I the only one that's seen that?
In the beginning?
Yep. The minute it started and they showed the woods, you had to pause for a second.
Let's see.
Yeah. What about the Patterson video, the most famous?
Must not be in the beginning.
Let it.
Miss Bigfoot. Do you think that's?
I do, because there was some kind of anthropologist guy who's like, you know, was a real scientist.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you know, the gait and the bones and the muscles rippling are legit.
They can't recreate it. Supposedly.
This is the guy walking? Oh, the one. But this is.
Right now, stop. It was right before that, man. You go on, and I'm gonna do it from my phone, and I'm gonna get the image for you and circle it where I seen it.
You got it.
This is one I thought they said that was for sure fake.
Well, there's a guy who claims that he got paid to wear the suit. There's someone else who claims that they made this. I thought it had been debunked, but when I read about it, there's still people who think that's real.
I thought it was debunked too. So that people still think that that's real.
There's some that do.
Yeah, that said they paid a guy to do it. It is true that when you look at it,
the arms look awfully long.
Is that
I don't know. You know, I'm not. You hear things on both sides. I wouldn't be surprised if some wannabe guy wanted to jump on the bandwagon and say, "Yeah, it was me."
Yeah, but
how important that he was saying. There are people that do want to jump on the bandwagon, and some people do believe. And the thing is, people do believe people when they come out and say they faked it, because you heard those other two guys in that podcast saying, "Oh, I thought it was debunked. I didn't know that debunk was debunked." So there's still people out there that just don't know the truth, don't know, because only takes one or two people to say, "Oh, I faked it," or they make a fake story. That's why they always say you got to trace. You got to trace every story, everything you hear, down to the max where it came from. The majority of the times, when somebody else gets popular, everybody else wants a piece of the pie. That's just the world we live in. I'm sure if Anthony gets if Discovery Plus gave Anthony a show, people who maybe didn't like Anthony's channel will come out and say, Anthony's a great guy. We were buddies. I shared information. It'll happen. Trust me. It's same thing as people win the lottery. Family members that you always hated, they're going to come out in the woods and say, hey, cuz, hey, buddy, remember me? I always treated you well. It happens in life.
I mean, this was such an old video.
Right.
And then to think back then, did them have a suit like that too? That's such a good suit. That, I mean, how expensive did that suit
now
be?
They say that there's like hybrids of these and humans, that these things used to take Indians and when they were lonely, and you would have a hybrid. And they say the smaller ones are these hybrid types. And there's this thing they call the true giant. And it's 10 feet tall, 800 pounds.
Yeah.
And supposedly the howl, and they know how to use this howl. They will be up in your face and let this ungodly roar go right through all your protoplasm, and you are messed up for days and weeks.
Yeah.
That's something I don't know if I even want to experience.
Had they ever killed somebody? Is that what you're saying? Like, is there a big...
I think that I think so. You get a whole continuum of the females seem, more calm and docile, and then you'll get an alpha male, and he feels challenged or threatened in any way, and they know what guns are.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. I have so many stories about when somebody started pointing a gun at them, they just started freaking out. And then there was
and do they run or they attack?
They start the bluff charging. And,
wait, bluff charge, so they act like they're about to...
Yeah.
And then they're hoping you back off.
Kind of like gorillas do. They come right up.
Yeah, and I mean, and so they're trying to get out of the confrontation. Like, they don't want to fight you. Like, they don't seem to be aggressive unless...
Yeah, most of them they just hide.
Like an animal. They just want to be...
I mean, what they're really talking about. I mean, if you guys even remember the remake of Planet of the Apes or of the Ape movie, if you remember, the apes are friendly, but when they have babies, they go in protective mode. It might not that they're aggressive. They might become aggressive. Like bears are aggressive when they have cubs, or little baby bears. Stuff.
I got
the image. Anthony did some research on that video footage that we saw. So this is exciting. So I'm gonna take this one off. Like I said, sometimes I just like to hear how other people are discussing it and what they're saying about it. So you can still see in that some people believed it, some people don't. Some people thought it was fake or real. It's great. But here, let's check out what Anthony got us.
You see the silhouette right there where I circled?
Like that little gray shadow that's right there. Yeah.
See the cone head? It's sideways. It's standing this way. You see the head, the arm, the legs, everything. You want me to make the circle small? I mean, it's right. It's dead center of the circle. I don't know how you
No, I can see it. I wish on StreamYard I can like stretch it out, but you can't. But I can see what you're talking about because you got the tree right there, then little black, then you got this gray shape. Down.
I mean, it looks like the silhouette of a Sasquatch standing sideways. Literally, you see the cone head, the arm, the leg. It looks like it's literally standing there, side profile, looking that way. Looking that way.
Danny wrote, Bigfoots are just like dogs. Some will lick you, some will bark
I gotta trace this.
at you, and some will eat. Well, listen. No different than humans. There's some humans that are nice people. There's some crazy people. There's some aggressive people. There's some people like Scrooge. They hate everything. There's different people out there, different styles of people. Why do we think that all animals' personalities will be exactly the same. They're not. Even your own animals in your house don't have the exact same personality. I watch my son's cats, and all 3 cats have 3 different personalities. One's scared as shit as everybody. One of his cats will lay there, all spread it out, like, look at me. The other one wants attention. I mean, everything. Animals, everything is different. So I only have one video left, and the only reason I'm showing this video because it's a news story that covers it. But the thing is, what I like about it is this news story comes from my hometown of Fresno. Like, Fresno even talked about Bluff Creek. Come on, this is Fresno, California. They're talking about it.
Age-old mystery. It's Bigfoot, whether real or not. Today, Bob Gimlin, the second half of legendary duo Patterson Gimlin, which allegedly captured the mysterious creature on film decades ago, made a stop in Fresno tonight. Our Angelica Leilani was there, and she joins us live in studio. Angelica.
Well, Megan, it was a pretty interesting conference packed with folks from all over, just fascinated, wanting to hear Gimlin speak all about his alleged encounter with Bigfoot. It's a legendary film that gained worldwide attention of an alleged encounter that happened nearly 52 years ago in California, the spotting of Bigfoot by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin.
Everybody knows that footage.
It was a big deal in those days, and so it's still going on, so there's something to it.
Saturday, dozens of fans filled the room, eager to hear about the age-old mysterious creature from the man who says he witnessed it firsthand.
I remember the feeling. It was just, yes, they really do exist.
Bob Gimlin says back in the 60s, if you told anyone you spotted the Sasquatch, they would think you were crazy.
First 35 years was difficult. Around where I lived, gee whiz, I was a real outcast. It hurt a little bit. It hurt a lot.
But he says nowadays with advanced technology, it's a different story.
It's been kind of a tough subject to deal with, really, in the early days. Not like now, not like there's so much sightings and so much evidence out there now.
Gimlin going around sharing his experience, getting support from fans like never before, something he thinks his good friend Roger would have loved to see.
I wish he was still alive so that he could enjoy the advancement that we have created.
As for those who are still skeptical,
well, think whatever you want to think. I know what I saw.
And Gimlin says his next stop on tour will be in Texas next week. To hear more of Gimlin's interview on things like such as Bigfoot and aliens, we'll have that raw footage on our website, yourcentralvalley.com. For now,
I'm so proud of Fresno to do that story. People still, like you saw in that video.
I outlined it, and then I show you it not outlined. Now, I just want to see if you see what I'm seeing. So there it is, outlined, not outlined. Outlined, not outlined. Does that help?
That's pretty cool. Oh, no, I see exactly what you're talking about. That's pretty cool that you did that on the spot. Oh, Terry Brown, thank you so much. You didn't have to do that.
Are you guys in the chat seeing what I'm seeing or no?
No, I see exactly. People in the chat, what do you think? You think Anthony's on to something? Or do you think Anthony's like those people that's claiming that somebody's in a gorilla suit? So,
no, I'm just saying it looks like something else is in the woods.
I believe if there's one Bigfoot, there's other ones around. A Bigfoot does not live. I mean, I don't know.
They see it.
I don't think they live on their own. I think there is others.
Yeah, when Patty's walking, before you get to see Patty walking, they show that image of the forest first. And that was the first thing I seen, was like the silhouette of that thing in the woods. So maybe there really was to it.
So you helped her. I see it. It's there. I see it.
So I think we should get that footage enhanced by a specialist, Eric, because we could be the first two that ever found another Sasquatch in the Patterson Gimlin footage.
Ron, we were mentioning earlier that we think that
we know you the Sasquatch.
We know you were in that suit. They said we're thinking 350 pounds at least and stuff. Who could do that? Ron could figure out a way. Hey, Ron, do you not age?
He 3D printed a suit. He covered it in hair, and he was the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot.
And I think it's important that this story, this is just my opinion, that it should never die. You know, it's important to keep these stories alive and well and keep them going. Have people keep analyzing, because I hope that that inspires other people to investigate more, or not just investigate, come out with their stories. You know, not be so afraid, because it is still, even to this day, it still is a little scary to tell people that you believe in something, especially if you're younger, you're in the work world. You know, people judge so easily, because you take one person who hates you can go straight to TikTok and bash you. I mean, it is crazy. Yes, there are more people that believe you, but because of technology, also on the other end, they can easily bash you. And it's funner. I hate to say it, it's more popular to bash than to like. It's
very true.
It's sad. It's sad. But imagine if you're on that horse, Anthony. You're riding on that horse, and I know you have your cameras ready, and your cameras could probably record just as good as what he had in that 60 millimeter. I'm sure your camera records better than what that old camera could do.
I have to be honest, and I know people are gonna hate me for this, man. But if I was there in
1967.
1967, if I was there with Bob, I would have shot it. I would have put it down. It would have had to be done. I would have had to drag one out in front of the scientific world. I would have had to have done it back then. Today, knowing what we know, I would have darted it. I would have tranquilized it, done whatever I can. But back then, not knowing everything we know about it, I would have shot the thing and dragged it out of the woods to prove that they exist. And
especially if you live there, right? If you live in that area, I mean, you're if you live there, you're probably thinking of your family too. Like, is this thing going to my house? Is this thing going to attack like a bear, like a lion, a bear, an animal?
Because back in the 60s, they didn't know what we know now. But back then, right, I if I would have seen that walking to the woods, monster that size, something like that, man, I would have shot it, man. I would have definitely shot it. Knowing what I know today, I would never. But back then, definitely would have shot it.
And guys,
you wouldn't have, Eric, back then shot that thing, that massive thing in the woods?
It's hard to say what you would do. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard to say. I say that now, maybe
because even if I was riding a horse and say I did have that camera and I see something, I might have just run and stare at it, not even grab that camera. I mean,
yeah, it might have been in shock.
You don't know. You might say, "Shut up." You might go, "Dude, don't say a word. Let's hide out," and not be brave enough to bring, because you just don't know when you're in that spot.
Yeah, you got to be in the moment.
Like you said, it's not like now where you heard so many stories. Like you're not programmed, but you trained yourself to investigate everything now.
Mm-hmm.
Back in that day, if you're not training yourself, telling yourself to investigate everything, you go into protection mode. What would you do? Now, that guy's an amateur filmer, so he's used to having the camera, so his instinct is to catch it on camera. But if you don't have that instinct, what would you do? And anybody says they know what they would do, they don't.
It's true. You got to be there, experiencing it. You got to be in the moment. You know what I mean? You could freeze up. A million different things could happen, Yeah.
Just like when somebody says, if somebody breaks in my house, I'm going to grab that bat. I'm going to attack this criminal.
You would probably
be running and hiding underneath the bed like everybody else.
But honestly, I'm surprised nobody darted one yet and got, proper hair and skin and, the proper sand. That only means to me that there must be very, very, very few of them left. Sasquatch. Maybe worldwide, maybe, I don't know, 2,000, 2,500 of them left.
If you guys want to meet the man who is known that was in that costume, we're going to bring you the exclusive person who faked that Bigfoot story.
The 3D printer himself.
Right there. That's the man that wore that suit.
Hiding in a hotel so nobody finds him.
Now, you don't understand. I just didn't shave. It wasn't a suit. Hey, I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, good. Good to see you guys, man.
Well, let's ask your opinion. What do you think of that famous legendary film of the Bigfoot of Bluff Creek?
Patterson Gimlin.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, that's one of the films that I say, like, I can't just say that's a hoax. Even though people came out and said, oh, I did it and all that. It's just the way it walks, the way certain things bend and everything like that. It just doesn't, like, when people dress in a suit, how you can tell that it's a human limb, the way it's moving.
Right.
On that one, and I think they said it was a female. If you look, it even looks like it has breasts.
We were just talking about that.
Like, really? Yeah. Like it's. I think that one's legit, man.
Let me ask you, Ron.
I think it's legit.
I just asked Eric, right? 1967, not knowing what we know now about Sasquatch. You're out to go find a Sasquatch with your partner. You're out to go do a film and find a Sasquatch, right? All of a sudden, a real one walks in front of you. You know the whole world wants to see this thing. There's your opportunity to prove it to the world. Back then, would you have shot it and dragged it out? Not knowing what we know now. If you were in 1967, you got off your horse, you had your rifle, you seen the thing in front of you, you're like, there it is, I can prove it to the world. I'm going to take this thing out and drag it out. Would you have taken the shot? I said I would have.
That's a tough one because you know what? Probably if my mindset wasn't like it was back then, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Probably. Yeah. But I mean, because you don't not like now. And I don't if I was an animal lover like I am now, back then, probably not.
Probably not. I said
what I mean? But
agreed.
That's a tough one, But I think it was legit, that one. I don't know why. I just think it is.
Right? Because they couldn't make a costume like that back then. Eric showed footage from Planet of the Apes, and Mike Johnson said they spent like $1.5 million just on makeup for Planet of the Apes, right? We're talking about two cowboys here, right? That would make it an amateur film. They had to rent the camera they were using, for Christ's sake. So there was no way they had any budget to make a costume like that.
If that was a costume, you're talking about a body tight fitting suit.
They would have had glue. They would have had glue hair on a person.
You could see the definition on the arms.
You would have had to glue hair on an actual person's naked body to make that work like that.
Exactly. You seen the cuts in the arm.
So how long did it take them to glue all the hair to your naked body? I'm just curious.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When they came out and said that, oh, I did it and everything, where's the suit?
Well, the guy that claimed that did it, he took a polygraph test. He failed. So
there you go.
But even Star Wars, when they made Chewbacca, right? You're talking Star Wars money, right? And Chewbacca still looked like it looks fake. You know what I mean? It's a Wookiee, but it's resembling a Bigfoot. But you could still tell it's a suit, right? And that was Star Wars money we're talking about that created that film. I just think maybe we could pull it off today, costume wise.
I have to say something. I don't know who sent it. I'm checking my emails because Amber Paraworld says she sent me a picture of a Bigfoot. I'm looking at my Facebook Messenger. I don't see it. I'm looking through my emails, and somebody sent the Cash App of $26.64. Doesn't say who.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Whoever that was, thank you so much. If it was you, whoever it is, if you're still in the chat, please say it was me, because it does, for whatever reason, it's not telling me.
If you look on the bottom of the Cash App, it should tell you, and you click the button where the amount is, it should bring you right to the person that sent it. I mean, at least it does that on my phone when I do it.
Well, I could probably go into the app itself.
Unless they, wanted to remain anonymous.
True.
But I think that, like you guys were saying, I think the Patterson Gimlin footage is the greatest footage of a Bigfoot that we have to date.
I think it is, and it should still be shown to people, because you guys just saw that podcast that I played. 2 people in that podcast thought it was proven to be fake. Then they learned, oh, it's not proven to be fake. Oh, that was fake. Oh, that story being fake. So that's why, you got to talk about these things, because people hear one way that it was someone in a costume and then it's over.
To even bring up a suit back then boggles my mind, because it would have looked like a cheap garbage suit. Right?
I never thought of that. I never thought of that before, like the quality of the
they didn't have
so-called
that
costume.
back then. They didn't have that back then. They should be more focused on like a Sasquatch. This guy got a Sasquatch on film. That should be more the topic of conversation, right? But nobody wants to give anybody credit. That's the problem with this world,
It's funny how they always go out to debunk.
I know.
And not prove something real. They always go out to debunk.
First time I seen that footage when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh my god, they found Bigfoot!" You know what I mean? When I first seen that.
Amber Paraworld, can you tell me again? You said you sent the Bigfoot picture, Facebook Messenger.
That's what I see. Facebook.
I wonder if Facebook just takes a while because nothing is coming up. I mean, I got Messenger up on my Facebook.
Are you looking on your Paranormal Highway Facebook Messenger or under your?
I'm looking on both, Paranormal and my private one. I'm looking at both because I got.
You said Paranormal Highway Messenger.
And I'm on my and the last message I got on my Paranormal Highway is you.
Me?
Yeah, you sent me a StreamYard link on December.
Hell, Amber, drop the picture in my messenger, and I'll send it to Eric.
That's my messenger is not updating because my last messenger was December 7th. This is like December 21st. Maybe my messenger is not working. Why would it not be working? Huh.
Let me see if she sends it to me right now, and I'll send it to you quick.
Okay. While she's sending that, guys, I'm going to show you just a tiny bit of a preview. Just a tiny bit. Of what will be coming up in the next cartoon. Just a tiny bit. Terry Brown, if you're in there, keep your eyes open. Just a tiny bit. Oh. Can't play it? Hold on. It won't let me play it. Give me a second.
I got it.
She said she sent it. So I think she might have sent it. Oh, you have it? Okay, here we go.
Just give me a minute.
Maybe I have to update my messenger. It seems like the last message was December 7th, and that's not right.
I gotta add it to another file. It's gonna take a second.
Terry Brown, look at you. You're back. Look at that. A little preview. A little preview. Terry Brown, you're back. You see the horse? You see that? We're in Transylvania right there. So baby, right after Christmas, we're going to start recording. And the reason, guys, is I was putting this out a little longer just in case everyone's like, Eric, I thought you already had this video. I knew Christmas coming up. Everybody's traveling and all that. And I thought maybe after Christmas, then I could start getting people to do some voicing. And I got some characters. And if anybody thinks you're a good, smooth talker, I got a main villain voice that I need a smooth talker. So if you're interested, send me an email to paranormalhighway13@gmail.com and give me, I don't know, send me a little example of your acting skills or something. And maybe you will get to play the main villain. Here we go.
So she says this is a cloaked Bigfoot, Amber. That was the message that I got. So I see exactly what she's talking about. It's dead center. Yeah. I can see the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the head, the body mass to it. I see it.
May I ask, Amber, like when you saw that, what were you doing? Were you investigating something? Were you on a paranormal hunt? where were you when you took that picture? I mean, why did you take that picture? Did you had a feeling? Was this a medium feeling that you had? What made you take that picture?
So
What were you
John
there
sent
for?
it to me from one of my videos.
It's from my Dogman video. Okay.
Where did you film this? In Delaware or what state?
We want to know what state. We want to know your home address. We want Dogman video. Let me see here. Let me go to her channel.
Hello?
Yeah, I'll be back.
World. Let's see here. You hear anything else? Here we go.
For a package.
Here we go. I went there the day because right before I had gotten growled at. Oh, wow. And this was in West Virginia. West Virginia. And let me see here. Let me pull this up for a second. Let me go here. So, and Amber, so you're saying that's from your Dogman video right here. I found Dogman. Is that the one that you did a month ago? Oh, did you hear that growl? You guys hear that? Hold on.
I did hear that.
It's like full on sentences. But it's growling. Oh, God, that scared me. Oh, my God, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. Ah! Oh, my God.
Oh?
That scared me. Oh, my God. I did not mean to scream. I literally turned around and saw a shadow right here, but it could have been play off my light.
You know what? I'm copying pasting this right now because I don't want to play anymore because I want you guys to go directly to her channel and watch that because that looks. I missed it. I must have missed it. That looks exciting.
Yeah.
Guys, go to her channel right now and watch it and let her know that you saw her video from my channon.
I gotta go grab a package and sign for it. I'll be right back.
But beyond that, guys, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I will be back tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. again. But tomorrow, I want to tackle the fire in the sky again. I want to tackle a whole hour of that fire in the sky. Look for different interviews. I want to dive in deeper with Anthony. And, of course, Ron's always welcome. I know Ron's traveling, so Ron's doing a lot of things right now, but I want to dive in deeper into the famous movie Fire in the Sky, what the story is based on that abduction, that UFO. I thought that'd be a great banger to go out on a week on. And of course, this Sunday, Anthony himself is still doing the show. Let me pop up the screen so you can see it, that Anthony even made a link for his show.
Everybody wanted me to do the show, so we'll do it. There you go.
I'm going to copy and paste that right now. And rest of you, if you are traveling, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I know from Ron, Anthony, have a great Christmas.
Yes.
Have fun. And just relax over it. Don't worry. If you don't watch shows, we know you're with your family and stuff. Just relax. Have a day to yourself. Kind of detox yourself. Because sometimes, even ourselves, I know we're on YouTube a lot. It is nice once in a while to detox, to get out, walk around. Not walk around where I'm at. Everything's freaking frozen.
I'll be coming live from my parents' house. I thought it was Christmas Eve.
His parents' house.
Yeah. I'll be with the family, so you can all hang out with my family. And
Ron, I hope you're having a good time in South Carolina. It's good to know that you didn't get abducted. Hopefully, you didn't get probed very hard during your travel.
I'm surprised you're sitting down. I thought that would hurt. You muted. You muted, Ron. You muted.
I said I have a date on Friday night with that. So yeah,
in the Astroglide.
Yeah, but what I'm gonna try to do though Friday night. I have brought the night vision with me. Got the forest back over here. I think I'm gonna go in there and go take a chance and
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
prime location where you are.
And then in 50 years, when Anthony and I are still alive, we'll do a show about the famous footage of you gonna kidnap Nat Forrest that was mentioned on this show.
That's right.
Yeah. And with breast, right?
But beyond that, people, seriously, have a good Merry Christmas. And
See you
if you
on
are
Sunday.
around tomorrow, we're going to talk fire in the sky, baby. Fire in the sky. Talk to you later.